Hello everyone, welcome to today's Midweek Moment. I hope you're all well. I've entitled today's message, Creating Margin for Mercy. And I want to share what God has been challenging me on from Leviticus chapter 19, verse 9 to 10. This is what it says. It says, "When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap your field right up to its edge, neither shall you gather the gleanings after your harvest. And you shall not strip your vineyard bare, neither shall you gather the fallen grapes of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and for the sojourner. I am the Lord your God." Friends, this chapter 19 of Leviticus is a very, very precious chapter in the Old Testament because its last verse is where Jesus gets his second great commandment from. It says, "You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself." And one of the practical ways Israelites were to demonstrate their love for their neighbor was not to thresh their crops all the way to the edge, or to pick up every grain from the ground, or in terms of their vineyards, they weren't to pick off every grape from the vine or pick up every grape from the ground. They were to leave a margin so that there was something for the poor and the sojourner, the alien, the traveler through Israel to eat. Now, there are three important points I want to draw from this text that really challenged me and I hope will challenge you today. The first is that this command to the Israelites to leave a margin in their crops was a reminder to them and to us today that everything God has given us is not just for ourselves. In other words, within what God had given us, there was to be a portion that would be set aside to be a blessing to the poor and those who find themselves in need in life's journey. The second point was that this act of creating a margin is an intentional step. The most logical thing for the Israelites to do would be to thresh right up to the edge of their crops. And the same would be for you and me. But they had to intentionally stop at a certain point and say, "I'm going to leave a margin." And you and I need to be the same. And God has been challenging Marina and I with our finances and with our food. And I'm sure there's other areas of life as well where God is challenging us and you to say, how are you going to stop and intentionally create a margin so that there can be a blessing for the poor and needy around us? My final point, which is, I hope, great encouragement to you as it was for me, is that every single one of those Israelites' fields were a different size. In other words, every crop was different to the next. It had different kinds of food growing in it. It was of a different size. And that means that within Israel, everyone's margin looked different to the other person. It was according to their size of their field. And that was very liberating for me, and I hope it is for you. Friends, it's not about comparing what we have in our hands to others. It's about looking at what's in our hands and what can be a portion for a blessing for others. And I heard a wonderful story in Cape Town, one of our sister churches. The church handed out food parcels, and one of the gentlemen began to share his food parcel with those around him who were in need. And they were blown away by this, because here's a guy in great need, but he demonstrated his joy in wanting to share the blessing that he'd received from the Lord with others. So even a food parcel had margin to be a blessing to those around this guy. Friends, would you do the same today? Would you consider how you can create margin to show the loving kindness and mercy of God to the world around us? Love you guys.